Hi guys! Hodor knows I'm extra emotional today, so he is right here, as always. Normally I spend hours writing down my thoughts and deliver them in a little contained neat package of my words that flow and have, deeper meaning to them. But today I feel really blank, beyond writer's block. It has been exactly 1 year since my diagnosis of the Cholesteatoma tumor in my ear. For those who don't know and haven't followed my drama, a year ago I was diagnosed with a benign tumor. It's a growth that happens in the ear when my ear I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, so my tissue is really weak and rips apart. That's why I have chronic dislocations. I dislocated my pelvis while I was pregnant. I've had rips in my tissue, my ovary ripped in half, and my eardrums have ruptured. This, I believe, was been 8 times on the right ear. And so what happens is that your body thinks that it needs to fill that hole, and it grows like a tumor pretty much to fill that hole. And then that tumor diseases the bone all around it. And so my doctor says it's probably been growing since I was around 11 years old, which is why I had been slowly losing my hearing. And by the time I went to the doctor, I had virtually no hearing in my right ear. And I don't have the greatest in my left either, which is my good ear. And so, long story short, huge surgery. They removed the tumor. It was growing around my facial nerves and my taste bud. They had to remove my entire mastoid, which is a large part of your skull right back here. So now I have a piece of plastic back here. They took the membrane from right here in your temporalis muscle, put it on the side to dry, and they used that to reform my new eardrum. And then the surgery I had about, almost 2 months ago was to put titanium hearing bones in my right ear and a skin graft, which now I have better hearing in my right ear than I've ever had, which is kind of like a big, bittersweet thing. I feel so lucky to have this modern miracle just like given to me and covered under my insurance. But another part of me has lived without hearing for so long that it's really overstimulating. And I've been doing a lot of swimming and just floating underwater to get that sound to go away. It's just, there is a part of me that misses it, not having that sound. So it's also been a calming thing because, there's a big chance, not a big chance, I'm being pessimistic. There is a chance the tumor will come back and then I will lose my hearing bones and my hearing altogether. So, it was almost calming to be like, I almost think I'd be okay with that. And there's science is coming along. So anyways, I'm already 3 minutes into this and I realize that I haven't gotten to my whole entire point, which is that I lost my fucking mind last year at this time. The way I describe it, I have mental health issues already. I'm pretty open about those. And I don't consider autism or ADHD to a point to be a mental illness by any means. However, living in a neurotypical society with autism, especially high functioning, when people are constantly telling me they don't see my autism, until you get to know me, then it's there. But that can bring on a lot of symptoms of depression, anxiety, and self-loathing. Then mix in with my chronic illnesses. I've had double-digit surgeries, deep into the double-digit surgeries. My body's tried to kill me multiple times, and I've lived in a state of chronic pain. Not now, I'm not in pain now, I've done a lot, but I lived for, 5 years in constant, chronic, aggravating pain that made me lose, time with my kids, their birthday parties. And so I spend a lot of deep time in self-loathing and self-hatred. And there's nothing anyone else can do about that. There's nothing you can tell me that is going to make me not feel that way. In fact, anytime someone presents a false hope, it makes me actually just angrier and more pessimistic because it's like I've tried everything, and I don't see my body's not going to get better. Like, I'm not going to age, and all of a sudden it's going to be like, yay, we're fine now. Um, and so I get really down. So last year when I got this diagnosis, I actually went in knowing I was going to get surgery. But then I knew I was gonna have an eardrum rupture, and so like, okay, I've had that, so like I can do that. But then he put the thing in my ear and literally put it down, went to the phone, called like three other doctors who came in with chairs and with other nurses, and they all sat down. They had pamphlets, and I was like, fuck. That's when I looked at the doctor and I was like, yeah, you can't give me a cancer diagnosis right now. Like, I don't have anyone here with me. I was alone at the doctor because I told Ryan I'd be fine. I was like, of course I'm gonna have surgery, but I'll be fine. Like, it's just an eardrum rupture. I've done this shit. And he's like, it's not cancer, but. um, and at that moment, I don't remember anything after. I don't remember driving home. I think my next memory is being on the couch and trying to tell Ryan what they told me. Also, while trying to not make my husband lose his shit. So, I kind of like, I remember handing him my papers that they gave me to read. Us doing a lot of research on it, which didn't help. I watched the surgery I was going to have, which was just dumb. But I lost my mind. I have a lot. My mind never stops talking with my ADHD. I mean, it's constant. But when that diagnosis happened, the voices in my head stopped. They just stopped. And those voices I've now realized are vital to keeping me alive with my mental illness. Because it's my consciousness. It's my way I split my personalities and in little individual voices so that we can negotiate this psycho that is Morgan. And they all stopped. And so it was almost like jumping off a bridge in like this free fall, hoping I make it to the other side. Because I have had suicidal thoughts before in pain episodes where I've just been like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I would just end it now if I didn't have people depending on me. But I had never felt like I did this last year. It was complete silence in my head. So anytime I had those moments of self-loathing, of chronic pain, of can I do this anymore, the answer was just nothing. There was no, there was no yes, there was no you have to push through. There was nothing. I was asking these terrifying questions to an empty brain, and my own self had to unconsciously, get me to the other side, and it was terrifying. And luckily my husband is trained in mental health and heard things that I was saying that I didn't even hear myself saying. I had my jaw completely reconstructed when I was a kid. It was, besides this, the biggest nightmare of my entire fucking life. And I told him I will not go through jaw surgery again. So like, if the disease has gotten in from my mastoid to my jaw, which they're right there, I was like, I'm not gonna do it. I am not going through my jaw wired shut for months again. And, most people would be like, okay, but my husband heard me when I was saying in between there, and he knew what I meant, that I was not going to do it. I am so thankful the disease wasn't in my jaw. At that point, I don't know what would have happened. Anyways, long story short, it was months. I wasn't myself. I don't remember much during those months. I was partying a lot. I was using drugs that I hadn't used in a while. I had shopping sprees I don't remember doing. Luckily, it was on Wish, so I wasn't spending a shit ton of money, but apparently I was into satanic jewelry and Korean makeup. I don't know. Dissect that one. And, it was probably the hardest year of Ryan and I's marriage, and I am so thankful for his patience and his honesty. He was the one that really was like, something has to give. He's like, I'm so scared that I'm going to come home and you're not going to be here. And I remember looking at him being like, yeah, I'm scared of that too. And so long story short, I healed from the insanely painful surgery. I started taking extremely condensed high doses of CBD RSO oil. I didn't see any change consciously, but then like 4 days into the CBD oil, Ryan looked at me and was like, do you realize that you came out here and played a game with us tonight? And I was like, holy shit, I did. And I had spent the entire summer isolating myself from my family, like in my bedroom, in the shower, at work, at bars, at my friends' houses. Like I was sleeping on their couches because I just couldn't, I didn't want to be myself anymore. I didn't want to be a mom. I didn't want to be a wife. I didn't want to be me. And it had nothing to do with my family. I mean, literally, I have the most incredible fucking husband in the goddamn world and amazing children. And, it had nothing to do with them. It was I couldn't live my life anymore. Every day, every night that I walked to my car from my other job at Providence Park, I walked over Salmon Street overpass. And there was actually a time that I climbed up there. Yeah, sometimes I wonder if I'll have to find a new parking spot for this season. I don't know if I'll go to that bridge again. But, God, it's been a crazy fucking year. I'm really fucking thankful to be back on medication, to be healed for now, to have my voices back. The crazy bitches are back in my head, and they keep me from doing stupid shit all the time. So, yeah, normally I would obviously condense this to a really nice, beautiful poem, which if you read some of mine, there's actually one called Salmon Street about the overpass. And that one I think is one of the most personal ones for me, for obviously that story. But anyways, I know this is so long, and so if you're still listening, wow, you either must have nothing to do or find me interesting for some reason. But, I really just hope even if this can reach one person who has lost someone from suicide, or has experienced this emptiness themselves, because there's so much misunderstanding, and suicide can come, like, there's so many angles that could come from. But this common misconception, I feel like, that when the pain of life gets too great, you know, you take your life. And mine was when the pain went away. Like, I felt nothing. Like, I would have given anything to feel something during that year. And so it's not just about being in pain. Sometimes it's about, and it's like, it's not wanting to die. Like, I've never wanted to die. If I could have, like, my best case scenario, I could create a clone of myself, and I could just, like, turn my own brain off. And then when I wanted to come in and say hi to my family, I could, like, jump into her body. But, like, you know, when I'm turned off, she's doing all, like, the motherly things. She's getting the kids to school on time. She's getting their accounts paid on time. She's doing all the things that I can't seem to do with my mental health. My mental illness is so that would be my best case scenario. Obviously, that's not going to happen. But so, you know, it's not about dying. It's about not existing anymore. It's about not being with this anymore. Which is something apparently you guys like to be with, which is cool. But it has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with my husband. It has nothing to do with my son. It has, like, they don't have to live up in this head. They don't have to live in this body that doesn't seem to even want me here. So that's where it comes down. Suicide is such a personal thing. And one of the best things that's ever been said to me is when someone who I don't even speak to regularly wrote me and said, thanked them for something I wrote on suicide, saying that, you know, they had been angry at their brother-in-law for several years after taking his life because they didn't understand why he would do that to them, and to his children and to his wife. And they finally understood after my words that it wasn't about them. And so that's exactly why I'm posting this, is because it's not about you guys. It's not about anything else but our own issues. And not that that's easy for anyone. I mean, no matter what, even though it's not about my husband, it sucked so bad for him. And he's also a victim of suicidal ideation. And so are my children. So, it's a messy fucking subject, but I feel that the more we talk about it, the less messy it becomes because we understand it more. And suicide is not fucking selfish. This is a quote from a good friend of mine who is very similar in his mindset. That said, you wouldn't shame a friend dying of cancer for not wanting to live anymore. But we are dying of our mental illness. And so when people choose to end their lives, it's because they were already dying. And I think that's really fucking important to remember. And, I think it's also something that people want to save us and be the one to, present some other idea that we haven't thought of. But that is seriously the worst fucking thing you can do, because when people say things that, and it's in good intent, like, oh, why don't you try this? It's like, you don't fucking think I've already thought about that. I'm the fucking smartest person that I goddamn know when it, except when it comes to some things. But like, when it comes to my own self acknowledging and processing, there's no one else that has the filters that I do. My standards are insanely high. So, I don't think your yoga teacher or even your massage therapist is going to help me. What I do think is that it's going to be a constant struggle. And I worry every single fucking day that the big suicide monster will come again. And it's a fucking monster. And it's a fucking monster. Yeah. But I love you guys. And if you're still watching this, yeah, thanks. And yeah, it's not about you.